I'm Romesh Dodangoda. I'm a producer and mixer from Cardiff in Wales. This is Long Wave Recording Studio. This is my private studio. I've been doing this for over 20 years and I think I've probably been here for maybe 13 or 14 of those years. Getting into this pretty much started from being a guitarist. I would spend hours, as most guitarists do, just going down that hole of trying to sound search and find how do I get my guitar to sound like this, you know, whatever I was listening to at the time. I would start buying bits and pieces that would help, you know, pedals and anything that would help me alter the sound. That really gave me the bug to get into engineering. And then kind of before I knew it, a band called me and said, have you ever recorded a band before? And I just went, yeah, I've done loads, and I'd never done one before in my life. But I think in those kind of situations, you just have to jump into it. And, you know, I think when you make those mistakes, that's really how you learn. And so in a way, it was good I said yes to that. This whole process of making this pack is all about how to give the user the best sounds, but really quickly, so that they can get on with being creative and actually recording. When I'm on a session, there's nothing worse for me than going through a long list of cabinets, and I haven't got the time for that, and I don't want my artists to get bored. When people use this, I want them to not have an overwhelming amount of options, but have the best options. So that was why it was important for me to be selecting the best speakers possible for this. These cabs that are in this pack are my favourite recording cabs, and every single one of them has got their own personality to it, and now they're available for people to use in their own productions. So first up is my prized Mesa cabinet. This is a cab I've had for years. I've gone through so many Mesa cabs and I've always come back to this one. I think there's something magic about the speakers inside it. None of it's harsh, it's all really warm. A lot of the time when you're recording guitar, you're trying to get rid of those nasty frequencies, and for me, when you just put mics in front of this cab, it just sounds amazing. It's one of the cabs I rely on a lot. This was used all over a Motorhead record called The World Is Yours. I've used it extensively on a lot of Funeral for a Friend records that we've done together. It's been on almost every record I've made. So yeah, it is a really special cab for me. So I'm a big fan of Mesa cabs, and they all sound a bit different. So next up is another 4x12 Mesa cab. The speakers in this are voiced differently to my prized one, but I really love the sound of this one and I wanted to include it in this collection. So this is another Mesa, and to me this one's a bit more punchier. One of the things you could do using the software is actually blend any of the Mesa speakers together and create your own custom tone. So next up is the Zilla 2x12. This is a really great cab if you want things to cut through. It's got a V30 and a G12 in it. This is a really great cab to use on like lead guitars and even clean guitars to just make them cut through a mix. Next up we've got my Marshall 1960 BX cabinet. This is a really interesting one. This sounds nothing like any of the other cabs I've got. I find this cab's really good with any mid-gain amp. The top end is really smooth on it and there's no harshness in this cab at all. I think it's got a great mid-range to it, and yeah, it's another really good one to have as a recording option. So this is my orange 4x12 cab with vintage 30s. Another really interesting sounding cab for me. One of the things that I love this orange cab for is if I'm using single coil guitars, which are naturally quite bright. When you pair them with this darker cab, I find the guitar tone more rounded and much easier to fit into a mix. So next up is my Blackstar Artisan cab. This is another one of my oldest cabs that I own. If I'm not using my prized Mesa, then this is the one I will usually reach for. It's got a lovely round top end to it, plenty of low end, and I think for rhythm guitars especially, this is one of my favourites. Next up is my Laney 4x12. This has got vintage 30s in it. For me, it's another flavour for rhythm guitar. It's really well balanced in how the speakers sound. There's plenty of low end, great mid-range and very smooth top end. I find this cab is also really good for lead guitar because it doesn't sound harsh when you're playing, lead parts like high up the neck or anything. So next up is my Victory 2x12. This is a really great sounding cab for lead parts in particular. It's got a V30 and it's got a G12H in it. This is a really mid-forward sounding cab, so whenever I'm doing lead guitars, I always reach for this one because it's so easy to cut through the mix with this cab. So this is my Blackstar Series 1 cabinet. Again, this is just another flavour for you to have. It's a really punchy sounding cabinet and it's great for rhythm guitar, lead guitar. You can do anything with this one. I find the speakers sound a little different to the other Blackstar that's in the collection, so try them both and see which one you prefer, or you can even mix and match them together. For me, this whole process has been really exciting because I've used these on almost every record that I've made, and I couldn't imagine recording without them because I've relied on them for so many years. But now being able to have all of my cabs anywhere I go, whatever studio I'm in or wherever I'm recording, I can take them all with me. And I love how everything's come out. All the cabs sound exactly like they do when they're mic'd up in the studio. So we've used all of my favourite mics into my favourite preamps, and that's my guitar sound.